Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another week, another fantastic week for some, and rather for me anyway, is a mediocre week. The market don't seem to be going much. It's more like a sideways trend for the last week or so. But the most worthwhile and most talked about thing must be what happened on Monday when the U.S. crude oil, the WTI crude oil, for the May contracts, which basically expired on I think end of Monday, and there was suddenly the drop of price of the American crude oil, WTI crude oil, coming from around 18 US dollars plunged down to minus 37 or minus $40. And as far as I have seen and my research done over the week and talking to other people, nobody ever seen negative crude oil price before. I mean, everybody thought there would be just like a zero price for any commodities or any product that nobody wants. People might just give them away, but instead of quoting a minus value on a product is unheard of, let alone on a commodity that's on exchange that's being sold around the world. I will talk a bit more about that. And of course, this week has been the back and forth between what Donald Trump said and the other state governors saying about lockdown, easing a lockdown, and not enough equipment. And America continued to suffer very badly with the death of all this coronavirus-induced deaths. And it's not good. I think it's the highest in the world at the moment, and continue to be so. I'm just very sad on that one. But most of all, I don't take this as entertainment, but it's just like it shows how bad President Donald Trump in US is handling the case. Not just deflecting his responsibility, blaming China, but also what did he say on Thursday? I think talking about there's some study in China saying people who are contracting the virus, contracting them inside a building, inside a closed compound, very similar to what they report from South Korea as well. So if you're in a restaurant or in a workplace, with closed facility, not outside, you get much higher chances to catch the disease, and it's just like flu and stuff can pass very quickly. But if people actually go outside a bit more and then do the work outside, there's much less of a chance of spreading the virus. So then that was the basic conversation, and then just spread it to talking about ultraviolet light, and suddenly talking about disinfectant and inject disinfectant into the human body kind of thing, clean the lungs or something. All those silly comments from a person, let alone a president, from any person talking about this, people think there must something wrong with the head, not screwed on properly. Putting disinfectant into your body, you want to kill yourself or something. And coming out from a president, actually show how much he was really unprepared, or just wobble on and just talk something out of his backside. But the problem is he's a head of a state, of a government, of a country, and saying that in front of a lot of people is rather very concerning, and it's no joke at all. But also see how bad he is handling the whole situation. And I think on Friday as well, there was sort of like a leak paper, basically causing a lot of stirs in Southeast Asia, especially in China and Hong Kong. Basically is some sort of leak memo telling the Republican candidates when they're talking about the presidency for next the next election coming in November, supporting the government, supporting the president, how they should deflect any talks about mishandling of President Donald Trump and deflected to how China was not sharing the virus information. WHO was not, doing its job properly, and basically said, nobody stand up for American value except Donald Trump against China, and everything. Basically, China is his fault. Part of China is bad, and so forth. And it caused a great stir in Southeast Asia, especially, let's say, in China and Hong Kong, because people were saying, this, this is a president who is handling, how, the West in general have, underestimated the infections, the spread of coronavirus, how infectious this is. I only come to sudden panic when, like I said before in my number of podcasts already, when Italy got hit and then suddenly spread very fast in Italy. Then UK do something, then Europe do something, then America do something. But one thing overall Donald Trump did right was, when the virus was sort of spreading in Southeast Asia, stop Chinese visitors, I think including students as well, going into China. Going to America. But the problem is they didn't stop anybody with American visa or American born person to go back into to America, even though they have been traveling from China. So and also there's also now talks about the virus was, like I said before, it's been passed around long before the lockdown, because the Chinese New Year, and possibly all because of globalization, people go in and out of different countries. They might have carried the disease back into America or into Europe in general. About in December or even November, and only first detected it back in December or early January already, and those kind of talks. But it's quite, for the whole week, from the market point of view, there's nothing much happening except we see from my point of view, I see a lot of major indexes are like slowing down in its advance in the last 3 weeks or so. Price have recovered quite a lot, and we're no longer in a bear market, so to speak, because from the peak to 12 to what it is now, from peak to what it is now, is less than 20% or something, like down 15%. So it's more like correction. But like I said before, the market is going to make you feel that everything is okay, it's not too bad, and the bull market, the good times coming back, and then you get a sudden drop. So I sort of starting to smell across different markets, that indices anyway. The rate of advance that has been seen last 3 weeks is slowing. S&P 500, Dow Jones, and so forth. But there see some good spotlights like Amazon, and just jumped quite a lot, because it's people in lockdown, they're buying certain things, buying things in general using internet, and Amazon seems to be the one that's benefiting. So is Netflix and stuff, and Disney, Disney Plus, the films that's on internet. They can people during lockdown watch a lot more, kind of thing. So that's more or less on the week. So on the price side, the market is quite quiet except what is happening on Monday. And the other thing that hasn't been talked about, the one thing I'm going to talk next is the crude oil price. But the other thing has been talked about would have, I talked about it like 2 months ago, about 2 months ago, before all this coronavirus pandemic thing spread to America, and American really panic about it, is the locust situation. Everybody don't seem to be talking about what happened in Middle East now, in Pakistan. The locust, the little grasshopper, the tiny locust, they hasn't died, got killed by the coronavirus, or got killed by any industrial chemicals spread by the farmers in Middle East and Pakistan. They're still there, apparently still spreading. And with now people talking about not enough food in different countries, I think Middle East going to get hit hard, really bad. My initial view from the start of the year, that because coronavirus is causing slowdown in Southeast Asia, they don't have enough people to not just to do manufacturing jobs but also farming jobs. So of course it's not sowing enough food, and I worry about second half of the year that Southeast Asia will have to buy a lot of their food and farm produce from Europe and America. But because of coronavirus, with the lockdown, that's been copied from China into Southeast Asia, into Europe, into America. It's also been, to me, basically, it means that the lack of food possibly goes to affect the whole world. So I think overall, just my logical thinking, instead of an increase, quite a bit of increase in soft commodities like rice, and wheat and so forth, and corns, possibly be a lot more higher. But before that, before we hit that, basically we see a lot of farm produce waste simply because a lot of farmers, because the lockdown, different countries, they couldn't even send the food to sell within their own country or own district or state because just travel restriction, and because a lot of people get locked down, then they're not going to restaurants. Restaurants shut down, fast food shut down. So even though people are buying food, but vast majority of the restaurants, most of it anyway, is shut down. Hotels are shut down. Anywhere, big major event is shut down. So people are not buying hot dogs, bread, and stuff, corns, that's as much as before. So a lot of them is being wasted. They talk about farm producers pouring milk into the drain. Eggs are not picking up because basically just no demand or less demand than before, and that basically also have a knock-on effect. The farmers, they as far as I understand from what research is showing, they run quite a tight ship, and a lot of big farming industries and companies run on very big efficiency, very good efficiencies, but also very thin margin as well. So I don't know how it's going to affect all of us on food side. Lucas running around in the background, nobody seems to talk about it. But I think the biggest elephant this week for me is just what I said in the title of this podcast, is basically crude oil price manipulation. Now, just step back. Look at the crude oil or any product. If it's not selling, okay, stop power there. Okay, and okay, the producer will just waste all this money. And for people to take them, they both say, okay, just take them. I don't even cost you anything. Just take them. If you give me some money for it, that'd be great. If not, take them. Because nobody wants them, so to speak. Okay, any product, toys, food, whatever. But have you ever heard of that in any society that, let's say, produce some bread. The bread's not selling, not particularly tasty for people. You give the homeless, the people who have no food, they will take it. They won't give you money for it, but just take it. But have you ever heard of a company or any company to pay, let's say, a homeless person some money to take the food away from their hands? It's like food waste. You just dump it into the toilet or put it in the waste disposable unit, or the normal food recycling process plant or something. But actually, ask people to take them away and pay them for it. I never heard of it in any market. Now, we have seen that on Monday in the oil market, and it was a surprise. All I've seen so far, all this news so far, it's a surprise, how this happened, and it's all blaming on the slowdown economy, blaming the Saudi, blaming the Russia. Yeah, that they have done something, contribute that to happen, but, this couple of things that nobody really talks about is U.S. Crude oil industries continue to pump up oil. There's talk that if they have to shut down some of the pumps, some of the wells, it would take a lot more money to restart them. But there's just no demand in general. People are not traveling between states, back and forth to work because of the lockdown. And it's not just one country; it's around the world at the moment. And traveling, especially aviation, by flight, they are not traveling. Ships are not sending things back and forth around the globe. Trains are hardly being run except for essential services. So who's actually using all those oil? Even to generating electricity, is there's only so much they can take. Like a lot of shops are shut down. So, like on my street, Around the corner, there's loads of restaurants there. They are shut down. They're not opening. Still residential is using the electricity. And for me, I live around in a student town as well, and also visiting town. There's hardly any restaurant open at all. Only some are open just for takeaway, for home delivery. The supermarket there might be open yet for food and stuff. And that's it. Hotels are not open. KFC is not open here in Bath, in UK. McDonald's not open. Burger King not open. Only Domino Pizzas and Pizza Hut and Papa John's is all open a bit. And very few and far between things are open at the moment. So nobody's using a lot of electricity. Nobody traveling back from different city, and it's a coast town. It's like we're talking about like a Sunday, in town, hardly any walking around. I mean, it reminds me of when I first came from Hong Kong to UK. I was first settled in Northern Ireland back in '83 in December. On Sunday in those days nobody works. Only they go to church in UK. So when you walk around in town, no shops open, not even McDonald's, because that's the law. They don't allow Sunday opening. And walking around in town, few and far between, buses running around, very limited. Once per hour or something. Hardly anybody drives. So it's just like what is now is for me anyway in my town in Bath, and I'm sure it's repeated across the board. So who is going to use the crude oil? So therefore the crude oil price, because no demand for it around the world, is gone down. Fair enough. So you have thought, okay, just logically don't pump, and if there's too much on the market, just don't produce them or ask people to take them away or something, or go down really low, just cover the cost. Maybe not even able to cover the cost of producing the oil, but actually go to negative, going to minus. I really never heard of it. And of course the news banks back and forth early in the week talking about how negative crude oils, and only happened because of the a lot of people was hoping the crude oil price will at least stabilize after the OPEC and OPEC plus group early in the couple of weeks ago say they were going to cut and stuff, but the cut only comes in May. But at least there's some agreement. Unfortunately, the demand for it is still non-existent, more or less. And why suddenly then, this might contribute to it. And also there's not enough storage. So pumping of oil from America around the world still happening, just probably, in a less amount. But the storage, people in US or around the world may use to store it locally with the storage facility within their own country, or using oil tanker. But for some reason, how things can go negative. There was all this chit chat, but just really blaming just too much what you call produce. There's too many oil being produced from around the world, and forcing that happen. Also because of the contract on Monday, that was the May contract, crude oil contract ending, and had to be settled. So people have to panicking, and just the investors and hedge funds and other big company or whatever it is, they panic, and they suffer a lot, and they just want people to take the money away from, take the product, in this case crude oil, from the hand, even allowed to pay people for that. But one thing that doesn't talk about much is I picked it up in Asia, but it's quite interesting. That's why I call this manipulation. What happened, what transpires to this, there's one channel in Hong Kong, but it's also on YouTube as well, you understand Hong Kong Chinese, is that there's some people have dig and find out, how this negative, oil price is hurting, a lot of hedge funds and EFTs and ETFs, those kind of things, and one guy was digging around and find something odd. Apparently CME, the Chicago Merchant Exchange, on early in the month, about 5th of April, actually sent out there was some document that's been issued, and it's on the CME exchange somewhere, about possibly supporting negative pricing for crude oil products and options and futures products. And there was just talk, and basically that document just said, sort of seen on the internet, to basically say that at early April they're not supporting it. But they're looking into it. There's possibly demand for it or something, and then on Monday itself, apparently they also internally CME have sent an internal memo to all market maker. I mean, who actually make the prices around the world. So this is why in Hong Kong, some people got it and shared it through some internal channel that the CME is allowing negative pricing to happen on Monday. That's when the crude oil price was like $4 or $5, just before, or $1 even before it go negative. It's sort of, this is just to me anyway, and I think this is more or less a conspiracy theory, but it's something worth considering, worth talk about. I mean, for me, like I'm a software engineer. And anybody who doing any software engineering, and back in the year 2000, 1999, there's something talked about the Y2K bug, year 2000 bug. Basically, software developed, and in the old days, they never think that software will carry over from 1999 into starting from the 2000 kind of thing in Canada, and the dates might affect some of the services, and especially the banking industries and the software, telecoms and stuff. Of course, I'm in the telecom industry, in the software field. So there was a lot of work being done on those. And I was supporting in Y2K, and there was loads of work, loads of we checking software, and also make sure that they've been tested to support the Y2K bugs and stuff, just to make sure there are any bugs iron out, that kind of stuff. And that took months, to plan, to work, we do the software, to do testing, to support the clients and so forth. And initially, people talk about it years ago, before year 2000 actually happens, 3 years before that. So people plan about it and do this stuff, and then it rolls out, and hardly anything happens. Everything's happy days, and I was supporting, just basically collecting free money. But the work initially at the start was very intense, and a lot of work to go push through it, and a lot of testing doing it, and a lot of clients were worried what happened, and I was on standby just in case some software on the telecom industry side fall down, and I quickly just jump onto it. I'm on the mobile side, so it's important. Then a lot of people start using a lot more mobile phone then, back in year 2000. So the telecom industry just want to make sure the mobile industry itself not affected. People still make phone call, especially like 2000. People might make overseas calls, and there will be a big volume of call jumping, talking to each other, much more so than normal New Year's, New Year's phone call between nations and stuff, because of year 2000. But of course, like I said before, nothing much happened. Yeah, and but through this process, make me thinking, for CME, okay, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the company, I think it's CME Group now, to actually thinking of entertaining on. There was an internal, the document on the website saying, they're entertaining, possibly looking into supporting negative pricing in oil products. That means somebody's already talks about it months ago, or probably weeks ago minimum. And then it took them some time to actually to come up with a document, and they actually must have done some testing while the market is down, especially over weekend or something, and then test it out to see if the market still can support negative pricing, see any software to be changed and so forth. So they are somehow planning for negative event, the negative pricing event to happen. So in this case, negative crude oil, WTI crude oil, that could happen. They're planning for it. People not just talking about it, they're planning for it, and then suddenly happen on Monday. Better Monday just passed. So all these things just smell fishy to me, that somehow either the softwares had already been catered for negative pricing years ago, before they even develop or something. But being a software engineer, especially money is quite important for running any projects. People is not good to. Some company would do future proofing, but a lot of them basically just say no, they not future proof it. So what is negative value, which of any commodity pricing had never happened before. I very unlikely they will support that or set that one up. So have negative pricing for crude oil in this case, and actually the software set up for it is very unlikely to set that up. So it is kind of difficult to foresee that. So now, from my point of view, because of this, it's like, why have this negative event that's happening, negative pricing event happening. Like I said before, all this planning you have to put beforehand, and somebody have talk about it and so forth. So somehow something have prompted CME to actually look into negative pricing and supporting and get themselves ready for it, and basically kick into effect on Monday. So who did that? Who actually pushed CME to do this? Now nobody out there talks about it, because apparently, especially this update on Monday that's been told to all market maker of crude oil price is internal. It's only for market maker. Not many people knows about it. And it's actually seen the email. It's like big CME group. You might see this just like dodgy thing, something that made up. But it's just funny to feel that a company selling stuff want to sell for negative price. It's really, really fishy. Let alone crude oil that is used around the world. Okay, there's too much of it. Yeah, fair enough. But actually go negative, just give it away, or shut down the pump. Yeah, actually give them away. I mean, you can store it if you can. It still have value. Human beings, in my view, is not going to stop using crude oil for the next 10, 20 years. So even though it's too much at the moment, it's flooding the market at the moment, store if you can. Just shut down the pump. Don't have to sell it for zero. That's something fishy going on. But as far as I'm concerned, of course, there were different talks from different news media, especially in US, because there's not enough storage, therefore people have loads of contract in hand, and the contracts are actually being they need to settle on Monday, and they otherwise they have to take on the crude oil and have to store somewhere. They don't have storage facility, which basically drove the price down. Yeah, fair enough. But is that really the excuse? It could be, but then who told CME to get ready to support negative pricing for Monday? And will it happen again when the June contract settle, which is middle of May? And will it happen to Brent crude? Will it happen to rice, wheat, pork belly, orange juice? And how does that affect option price? I mean, just talking about here is a future contract. What about option pricing for crude oil? How does that work with them? I don't know. So I can talk about it then. How did option price get settled in April here for the May contract? I don't know. And all these things are actually happening. It's worth people think, but nobody talks about it. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a conspiracy from my point of view. First prompt is, if CME have created a software to help people to trade electronically a product and allow negative pricing, why they never used it before? I mean, crude oil has always been around for a long time. It used to be in the pit, open cry pit, buying, selling. They never gone zero before. They've gone to electronics for quite some time now, 20 years or something, and it's never gone negative before. Why suddenly allow negative? Why? And also fishy, the other thing is CME is US based. Okay, and who get hurt most during this spat between Saudi Arabia and Russia about crude oil price? Not cutting crude oil by Russia, and Saudi threatened and actually basically use their strategic reserve and flood the market, and hurting who mostly? Both of them work together, in my view. Both Russia and Saudi is hurting the American government, hurting American oil industry, shale gas industry, to stop them from flooding the market. Okay, and then what? The American just got to take it on the chin and just talk like what Donald Trump talk and say it, to get OPEC and OPEC Plus group to stop doing silly things. I mean, they actually hurt. America get really hurt in oil industry. They just gotta keep quiet. No, American, as far as I'm concerned, very much for the British. They gotta do things. They, politics wise, they're fantastic. They know how to do things. And for US, they much more so on the electronics, software front, technology front. Now, just use an excuse, a well-known excuse, too much product in the market. So therefore, I allow negative pricing, which first of all, CME have never done before. Secondly, how the hell are they supporting it in a short space of time? They did all this testing, and who is authorized and sanctioned it? And who is going to check? U.S. regulator going to check? CME basically is the main market maker. Actually provide the system. Is regulator in America going to check them? I doubt it. Has anybody talk about it? They're checking about irregular buy and sell orders before any sudden event. Yeah, but the negative event, the negative pricing event itself is actually being authorized somehow by the regulator in US or by the US government. I don't know, but it's a worthwhile conspiracy theory that, worth some sort of digging, especially nowadays. Like, you see my profile on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. You see me, standing beside Brian Rose, and he talks about, get David Icke over, talk about 5Gs and possible link to coronavirus. There are people out there get banned just because they're talking about coronavirus with some technology stuff. There's so much conspiracy theory here, and then government actually shut it down. And it's not really the government; it's the U.S. Silicon Valley big boys, YouTube's, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, shutting people out. And okay, there might be too much conspiracy coming around to coronavirus, but what about crude oil? Is anybody talking about it? And also, like I said before, nobody talk about the Lucas situation. What about food? Having not enough food to feed the world later on in the year or early part next year. What happened? Nobody's talking about them. So this week, basically for me anyway, my take really is there could be, I think there's definitely some sort of pricing manipulation here in the US crude oil price, WTI in particular. Now, would that be allowed to happen in the Brent crude oil price? I don't know. And who got hurt this time? Who got hurt with the negative pricing? Is it US pension funds, hedge funds, or in a way that I'm thinking of is, ETFs and funds are international, right? You try to trade the oil. You don't have to trade them. Trade the actual contract, the oil contract, probably using ETFs and stuff. And these are traded from around the world, right? So would they actually be targeted to retail traders in US as well as in Europe as well as in Saudi Arabia and Russia? So just to try to get one back over to Russia and Saudi Arabia through the negative pricing of the crude oil contract? I don't know. But what does negative crude oil contract means to Russia as well for the May delivery and for Saudi as well? What does that mean to Russia and Saudi? Does that affect them? Not many people are talking about this at the moment, but what does that mean to these countries? And also other countries who really need crude oil being sold to sustain their own economy. That also not being talked about. So, but this week in its essence, just like showing all these funny things going on and conspiracy theory as far as I'm concerned, it is part of it. But you might then ask, what does that got to do with trend following? What does that got to do with trading? Yeah, it's first of all, it created a disjointed price, product price, and people are trading on it. Day traders may be trading on it, but that's another thing. To me, is a black swan event, something that never happened before suddenly happened. A negative crude oil price that nobody have anticipated could happen and knock everybody out. Can you predict that to happen? Just like, can anybody predict? Did anybody predict there's a spat and then reaction between Saudi and Russia just because they have an argument about oil price, cutting oil production? Nobody did. And how the European reacted and so American reacted to coronavirus spread, how much they were unprepared, all those black swan event. But as far as trend following is concerned, this wasn't not catered for. In trend following here, you probably heard from my past podcasts on a Weekly W podcast. I keep three system, three trend following systems. Okay, one is short term 2 ATR system, one the medium system is the turtle system 2, and then number 3 is just 50 days over 200 moving average with a bit of filters on it. Basically taking long term. Very simple, very easy. Anybody, after a couple of conversations, will understand how I trade on this one. And the reason why I have these 3 trend following system is I want to take an average of all 3 systems so I can get an average price, because sometimes some trend are very long term. I have a long term system to capture those. Sometimes trend are very short, fluctuates a lot. I want to meet medium to short system to capture them. The long term system probably won't capture them, probably got a lot jigsaw coming in and out, got hit a bit. So I'm trying to get an average price here. So from a trend following point of view, my medium and long term system have captured it. Remember this, crude oil price going down was nothing much new. It was like January, February, the system's already talking about it. So the system, you go through my weekly update podcast for the past, couple of months, you see that probably, I think from around end of January, February time, it's already start, this changing of signs, so to speak. The long-term system and medium-term system that already smell that the price change in the crude oil as well, WTI, the US crude oil as well, Brent crude oil, change of sign, so to speak, and change sign, and continue to do so. The short-term 2 ATR system also picks it up, but on Monday the short-term ATR system got killed because it suddenly, it was. Last week was still, short-term wise because of the OPEC Plus talks that they're possibly cutting the price, cutting the production, so the price moved up a bit. So the short-term moved up as well, but long and medium-term still is on a sell, trajectory, stay short. So Monday my 2 ATR system initial trade got killed, but my long-term, medium-term system, continue to make money. And this is how they work. But from a trend following point of view, really, in here is trend following long-term is nature. So if you have a short, medium, long-term, and you say something long-term, I think long-term views, a long-term system wins out, and medium-term as well. The short-term systems on my one, got killed. Yeah. So, but inevitably, as far as I'm concerned, trend following system can capture this, and doesn't matter what people's manipulating the price, they always show up something somehow, somewhere, and somehow, one way or another, trend following system able to capture it. I'm not saying trend following system is God, able to capture all this stuff. Like short-term system, it got whipsaw and got kicked out, and I lost money on the short-term trades. But the medium long-term trade is still there, still making money, holding on tight, and continuing. And who is there to say there's no market manipulation and market efficiency? Once again, stand trend following aside, all those traders out there who believes in, or even those PhDs or economics students or professors, sorry to say this, but you think people are rational? People don't manipulate market? They do. People do anything for money. That's my view. So within the law, they just go to change things. And Monday is a clear signs of some sort of manipulations going on. That, black swan also comes in, as you can talk about it. But for me to have a electronic exchange, which CME provide to trade future product, in this case, crude oil, WTI, crude oil price, to actually support negative pricing, which was, I don't believe they're building, because it never happened before. Even when you're on open pit cried out trade, when lots of people, in those days you see on films that people shouting, yelling out about for buying or selling a contract or product or something, If they never happen in negative pricing, are allowed to do so before, when they transfer similar functionality onto a software, electronic means, and electronic exchange, most likely they never cater for a negative pricing. Now suddenly we got negative pricing comes in, and there's all these little news, little notes flying around in the system. Only people who knows about it, who's deep into the exchange things, knows a bit about it. Not talking about it, but something somehow shows up, something smells, the smell actually, shows up, and some people picks them up. And as far as I'm concerned, it's worthwhile question to ask why CME allow negative pricing at this juncture, after, not just because of the too much of the products, of the crude oil products, but also after Russia and Saudi Arabia have hurt America, by flooding the market with an argument about the pricing and stuff and not cutting the crude oil price. American got really hurt, and CME in particular is a U.S.-based company, U.S.-based exchange. You just cannot stop people thinking about bothering about thinking about conspiracy theory, and who said people are rational, who said the economy in general are rational, that all news are in there. Sudden news comes in, sudden change in product pricing. In this case, God knows what people got hurt, especially in this case. I think a lot of retail investors got kicked in the backside because they thought the crude oil price will coming back up, slowly over time. Then they take a long-term view, so they gone into the crude oil market using ETF. They're not buying and selling the actual product itself, but using ETFs, you're actually doing it. And that's, for some reason, gone negative and caused a lot of problems. And people talk about in Asia, some banks in Asia apparently also got suffer. I'm not sure about Europe and US. It's not, I haven't seen it on CNBC or whatever news is, but definitely some people got get really hurt around the world, not just US. And the big boys, somehow, I think, some people will set this up. That's just my view. Conspiracy theory talking here, and just try to get even back to Russia and Saudi Arabia. It could be, or just use other people to cover the losses that has been induced by the spat between Saudi and Russia. So the U.S. can cover its losses a bit more using people not from America, but also from around the world, in Europe and Asia as well. People from other investors. So watch out, trend following or any other trading methodology. Sometimes you just have to remember you cannot predict what happens. Anything could happen, and you must have a system that can, change signs, so to speak, and deal with those kind of things. And also, that's just a system. What about you? What about a trader yourself? Can you handle suddenly just change? Okay, you lost money in there. How are you going to handle it emotionally? And how you going to risk manage your trade next time, so that when this kind of silly things happen, a clear market manipulation, to me anyway, happens, and what are you going to do about it? So those are worthwhile questions to ask as a trader, no matter what form of trading system or methodology you use. Worthwhile to ask. And they say that's my 2 cents worth for this week. So enough talk for now. Let's get back to my usual weekly update, sample trading update, which is coming up next. Okay, first off the bat is Apple. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy, so same as last week. Amazon. Short term is a buy, medium term is a buy, long term is a buy. Amazon, I believe this week, just like Apple, so I think on Thursday coming up, they're releasing the Q1 trading statement and announcement, see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to be. Amazon is definitely benefiting from the lockdown. People do a lot more online trading, not trading, online buying things, so as watching more films. But I just wonder how the AWS, the cloud industry, going to be like. Company who use cloud who still be probably working, but I don't know how much would that affect it, or just still people growing. I mean, the noise from I'm being a software engineer myself. Some of the project that I know about use AWS. A lot of it, just continue as it is, but expanding, I'm not sure in this climate because people are, I don't know, under lockdown, general economy around the world is slowing down. What does that mean to AWS, money, they actually make money out of that. They're expanding the cloud industry, taking market share. Amount of people are just stagnate. I think it's more like stagnate because just the general market is just slowing. and I just wonder how it goes. And also, as far as I'm concerned, I think Alibaba is talking about doing some cloud stuff, which they, I think, talked about before. That you're going to roll something out sometime this year in China or try to dominate that in Southeast Asia. What does that mean to both Microsoft and Amazon cloud industry sector? I don't know, but it's worthwhile something. Let's see what they say on Thursday. Okay. Next is Australian dollars against US dollars. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a neutral. So same as last week, just like Amazon and Apple. Brent crude, short term is now a sell, medium term is a sell, long term is a sell. Same as WTI, short term is now a sell, long term is a sell, medium term is a sell. So next is DAX from Germany. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell, no different from last week. In fact, a lot of things haven't been changed much from last week. Dow Jones, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is still a sell. FTSE 100 in UK, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Gold, short term is still a buy. It tried to make new high, but it didn't. But still around, above 1700, between 700 and 1750, running around. So short term is a buy at the moment. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a buy. Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong. Short term is a buy. Medium term is a neutral. Long term is a sell. Nasdaq. Then again, same as Dow Jones. Short term is a buy. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a buy. Nikkei in Japan. Short term is a buy. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a sell. Okay, that's no change from last week. Silver, medium term is neutral, short term is a buy, long term is a sell. So I repeat on that one, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. USD against the Chinese yuan, short, medium, long term is buy, so across the board same as last couple of weeks, no change here. USD against Japanese yen, short term is a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell, so same as last week. British pound against Japanese yen. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Same thing for British pound against USD. US dollar, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Bitcoin, relatively stable amid all the fluctuation in the general stock market. Short term is still buy, medium term is neutral, long term now is neutral as well. So we just see how it goes. TLT, the ETF, which tracked the bond, the American long-term bonds, a treasury bond. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. So like I said, nothing much changes this week here, and so we just had to wait and see how it goes. But as far as I'm concerned, from what I said earlier in the podcast, I smell from the charting point of view the rate of increase from the last 3 weeks from the recovery of a low price last 3 weeks ago. It seems to have slowed down now. It's coming to an hopefully slowing, pausing, because I don't care which way. I just feel the economy just doesn't support the share price, because as far as I'm concerned, Warren Buffett said it is correct. The stock market over a short term is a voting system, and long term is a weighing system. So short term wise, the US Feds, as well as the financial services regulators and government bodies are really pumping lots of money into the financial system around the world. And except the one that really didn't do much is China, but it's still did something, just not as much as America and Europe. But we just have to see how that goes. But the short-term extra liquidity increase into the financial market definitely driving the share price back up. But can it be sustained with people during the lockdown around the world? Mostly, 3 billion people? I think I heard from BBC News saying that. So let's say, a third of people around the world is in lockdown situation. They're not going to work. Some of them probably like me as a software engineer can do things remotely or something, or software developers and stuff, or trader and things. They can make some money. But a lot of people in the service and hospitality industry cannot go to work because they more like a face-to-face kind of works environment. They just don't have any work, and also a lot of them being made redundant, and they rely on government for money. And would they be able to get back on their feet very quickly? On the shop side, a lot of small shop probably will struggle. From what I read from around the world on YouTube and news and stuff in Southeast Asia as well as in Europe, I think some of America as well. People, small companies, small shops are having difficulties securing money from their own government, from their own financial regulator, whatever it is, to support them during the lockdown, and has been difficult. The big boys, because they have companies, because they have existing good relationship with bankers, with banks that they shop with, they seem to get the first stuff of the money from the government health fund first. The small company have less relationship, so to speak, with the banks, with their own banks, and basically seems to be left on the sideline, take a bit of time to get the money out. I mean, this is true for UK here. I think from what I read, same as US, and possibly likely in other places as well. And so what does that mean to small shops? A lot of them, really heavily, not having much of a margin already in what they sell and buy, probably not having a lot of, like Apple have loads of money in the bank, like, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway kind of thing, with lots of money in the side waiting, just in case anything happens. A lot of it's running on shoestring. A lot of them will not be, in my view, able to come back, even if the lockdown slowly, progressively, allowed more people coming out. I mean, even if it's going to full-blown everybody allowed to come out, social distancing is still going to be around. People probably will still, only not going out much, especially people with children. They worry about, and also people with older people that they look after. They worry about, coming out in general public might catch a virus. There talk of people might be getting reinfected, even though they have infected before, and get hurt again, get infected again. So until we know more about the science things, I think in general the economy, it takes time to pick up. People first of all have to be trust that they can come out without getting infected again. There's some sort of test that they can go to, like go to the doctor very quickly, some tests, and turn around with the test results very quickly, and then there's some sort of drugs that can help them to recover. And so if that's not in place yet, even though you open up more, let's say, parks, and people able to buy and sell or serve drinks and food in, let's say, open park or on the street or some area like that, in open area, people are still reluctant to come out. And then with so many people out of jobs worldwide, not just US things, worldwide, we're under lockdown. Lots of people looking for their own government for help. Food banks not able to support people. I don't think the economy can just go pick things up very quickly. So the stock market, I think this little initial hooray, celebrating all the government putting lots of money in to actually help people in need. What does that mean really? Have a lot of people able to come back out, able to sustain themselves? It's still a big question. A lot of them probably couldn't. There are probably a lot of bankruptcy from individuals as well as companies. And a lot of people, big companies to small companies, asking for government bailout. How much can government do? How much more money can they print? What does that mean to their own currency? It feels very much like back in the year 2008 when America just print. So Europe also print. And now China 10 years later also print as well. Everybody's debasing the currency, and see ways to the bottom which one not as dirty as others, so to speak. Everybody got into the mud, just like which one come out first. America, because they have this US dollars, which is used around the world, they seem to always come out the top. But with all this Donald Trump rhetoric, agree something from previous government, and then when he comes up not agreeing and we negotiating and calling each other people names and stuff, one minute calling names, next minute shaking hands with very great friends. Very typical businessman as far as I can see. A very well-oiled businessman, but not very likable. Not somebody that I can work with, that I can trust, because on a dime, if there's something not to their liking or to their advantage, they just gotta turn the table on you. So on that one, to rather build relationship with other countries, with friends and colleagues who were supposed to be your friend before, I think they probably will start, standing up. So all these cold talks about Cold War, I think will be happening. American and Europe's and people will support American, one way or another. With one side, the other one think, especially Middle East and possibly China and North Korea, basically feel the heat from America. All this blame about Chinese virus and stuff. It's just got to stand in the other corner. And Europe probably have to choose, or something. A lot of countries have to choose, and then just like slow cold war between two countries, two groups of countries, fighting each other, and who knows who will win. As far as I'm concerned, this all come up with just like what we have about 120 years ago, when America sort of beat Britain from taking over the world, so to speak. Britain used to be the king around the world. It lost its status to America now, and Britain didn't let go that status easily. There was a lot of warships sent to America, a lot of fights, and finally got independence. Fair enough, but then internally, America also suffered from internal fightings and stuff. I mean, just like this history, every country have to go through their own version of history. But from just handing over from Britain to America, the big boys, number one spot, talks. Takes a bit of time, quite a lot of rhetoric going between the two countries. Sometimes for a bit of fighting, a bit of war, even though it was very small as far as I'm concerned, but it's still, fighting. And now the American side has been challenged, firstly in the 80s by the Japanese, which have then gone into dust. And they lost decade and so forth. People talk about it and still haven't picked themselves up. Next is Russia, that was in USSR before. And of course, slowly, crumble. Democracy wins out and communist falls, and they lose out. Now it's China. Will China follow the footstep of Russia? I don't know. Or follow the footstep of Japan? I don't think so. China is a much bigger country, a lot more populations. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, especially in China and India as well. They got a big population. That means big consumer market with the Europeans and the Western world and US in particular want to kill those market, having really bad relationship with them. I don't know. At the end of the day, Americans very much, the Western world very much like to, just like the Asian country, like to trade. Just go and trade, and then we see how it goes. They just go and trade and trade. I think at the end of the day, we just like money talks, BS walks, and just how it goes. And we just have to see. But I do worry, all this rhetoric might, blames and overall might cause a bit of, friction between countries, and who knows, it might cause a bit of a war as well. And I sincerely hope I'm totally wrong. I'm talking BS or talking from my ass here. I hope. I really don't want war, don't want any more bloodshed. But instead of using guns and bullets, the powers that be has been learning and using financial weapons of mass destructions, like using the dollars, using some sort of, bonds, we saw in 2008, and other financial means to hurt each other, and now just using blame as well, blame each other. And who knows what might happen. There may be a lot more financial issue. But one thing for certain, after all dust is settled, people definitely will look into this supply chain. They're not going to put all the eggs in one basket, just like China couldn't expect, the what you call export. They suffer a lot back in 2008. Europe crumbled, so is America, and around the world more or less crumble, and they changed from an export model into a more internal consumption model, and I think similar things going to happen about the supply chain. People instead of go all China, just spread all around the world, and of course that probably some are going back home as well, back to home country, origin country. So the cost of products, I think globalization. One of the big benefit of globalization is everybody gain by having a lower price unit being produced by Southeast Asian countries, and in Europe they can enjoy a higher level of standard. More or less, don't have to pay as much. But now with things, product line coming back into Europe and into America and also into other Southeastern countries, the cost of product will be probably cost a lot more higher, or at least a bit more higher than before. So we probably see a bit more of when things does settle, inflation coming in. But who knows? People arguing last 10 years or so, back in 2008 or now, I mean, we haven't seen any inflation, even though America has been on, so is Europe, and people from around the world flooding the market with money. We haven't seen actual inflation, probably gonna, never happens. But who knows? Black Swan event happen next time. The inflation comes in way below on top of the top. We won't be like in the teens, maybe in the 20s or something. Inflation, you never know. It's something ridiculous. And we just have to wait and see. But as far as a trader is concerned, we just trade the price, trade the trend. And sometimes, and the things turn up, do it about head turn, and you get hurt. But take a long-term view. Remember, trading is a long-term view. Don't just think of it doing a 1 day or 2 day or 1 year, 2 years. Take it like until you die or until your brain still cannot function. You just continue to trade. And if you look at that way, this would just more like a blip. This couple of years, this year, next year, probably a continuation of the slowdown economy. Or world restructuring itself. We see how it goes. There will be a lot of headaches, but a lot of celebration as well. I believe there'll be ups and downs. We all make money, and we just see how it goes. So, anyway, the final comment for me is: please stay healthy, help each other stay healthy, and God bless. I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.